The Trump administration yesterday started releasing the first transcripts of records on Democratic Senator Robert F. Kennedy's 1968 assassination, with roughly 10,000 pages of previously classified records. The disclosure, ordered by President Trump within days of taking office and backed by the senator's son, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., could reignite speculation about the decades-old killing, as the younger Kennedy insists his father's convicted assassin Sirhan might be innocent. Look, one thing is for sure. The death of Robert F. Kennedy changed the course of history in this country. So let me just once again take you through the timeline. You understand the Vietnam War was raging out of control, and something that his brother John Kennedy was trying to get us out of in his first term as president, but sadly his life was taken by an assassin's bullet in November of 1963. One of the things that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wanted to do was to carry on his brother's legacy. And you may remember his brother also said he wanted somebody on the moon by the end of the decade, which it did happen. But I believe if Robert F. Kennedy lives, he becomes the president, and he is there to witness one of the biggest dreams that his brother had of sending men to the moon. And I think it creates another industrial age. We dovetail off of the steel industry and all of the things that were happening there. I don't think we ever lose our foothold. I don't think a global economy becomes the global economy as we now know it. We continue to fight for people in Appalachia, and that was one of the things that his brother and he were all about, taking care of the less fortunate. And also civil rights. I think even if sadly Martin Luther King dies, Robert F. Kennedy is there to carry on that message. You know, it was just a very difficult time losing those three men. And I remember as a young man shedding tears for both Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King, a little too young for JFK. But I do believe the other caveat here is the fact that Richard Nixon never gets elected. And thus we never have Watergate. And I think the Vietnam War comes to a really screaming halt long before the early 70s. Robert F. Kennedy was a part of that Kennedy family, but law degree, former attorney general, basically took on the underworld, the criminal element, and really was fearless, was not afraid of anything. And he was a very soft-spoken individual, very intellectual, who thought things through. He reminds me a lot of his son. But I know this, we lost a true giant when he was killed, and it'll be interesting to see how far they take it. But one thing is for sure, the world changed forever when JFK died and Martin Luther King. But our Constitution and democracy and where we are today, I think, would have been much different if Robert F. Kennedy Sr. were to have lived.